Welcome to Real Estate I Love It podcast. I'm Shelley Hoffman, real estate expert and community advisor. Join me and various guests who are expert in what they do, such as home inspectors, mortgage brokers, investors, wholesalers. There are so many aspects to our industry that most people are not aware of, and I'm here to help you learn about them. I'm an educator by trade, and this podcast is to educate you in the world of real estate. Hey everybody, it's Shelley Hoffman with another episode of Real Estate I Love It. And today I am honored to have Nancy Wallace-Laabs here with me. Hi, Nancy.
Hey everyone. Hi, Shelley.
Hi. So Nancy reached out to me and she was talking about the way that you invest in real estate and how you love helping other people and sharing stories. So first tell us all how you got into real estate, because you shared it with me and it was kind of funny.
All right. Well, thanks. And thanks, Shelley, for having me on. I'm really honored to be here. So I do have kind of a funny story. So no matter where you're at in the country right now, I mean, the real estate market is just insane. Like it's a huge buyer's market. I'm actually in the Dallas, Texas area. It's crazy. So I actually started my real estate career back in Phoenix around 2008 when the real estate market was again going insane. And so my husband and I, we looked around and we said, we have kids and all that. And we're like, dang, when can you make this much money? We quit our jobs, sold our house, and within 3 weeks we moved to Dallas. Now we had some reasons. We were both kind of from the Midwest, and that's kind of what propelled me. Now, let me just tell the audience, I was not in real estate at the time. I just, I always tell people I was kind of greedy, because I saw how much money I could make. And the thing is, in a buyer's market, you can do that if you got a place to go. So we said that. And so that's kind of how we propelled our real estate career, because I was like, dang, okay. And I had always watched those flip and flop shows, and I always had an interest in real estate. I just was nervous and scared. And let me tell you, we sold our home and moved to Dallas, from Phoenix to Dallas in 3 weeks. And we thought, you know what? We were both smart people. We just felt like we could get jobs anywhere. And, we did. So it all worked out. I guess the worst case is that we could have rented a camper or whatever. But anyway, that's how I got started. And then
there's always a reason. There's always a place to go. But I want to go back because you said a buyer's market twice. It's a seller's market.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, a seller's market. I want to be a buyer, but yes, it's a seller's market. Thank you. Yes, it's a crazy seller's market. So when you homestead, you don't pay income taxes on that, right? So it's basically money that, if you can sell your home and you have an alternative place, the problem that people end up as a seller is that where are you going to go? And when we looked in Phoenix, we actually had been in our house for like 8 years, and we were just kind of looking for another house, and we were like, oh my gosh, we cannot afford what we already have. That's how. So it's kind of funny because real estate does go in ups and downs. So we just happen to be in another huge seller's market right now. Huge. Oh my gosh. So, but that's how I got started, and I never looked back. And I love real estate. I love your podcast because you said, you love real estate. I'm so passionate about real estate. And being a real estate broker, I mean, it's been a journey. And I've learned some other ways to invest in real estate that are, I have bought off of the MLS and all of that. But I'm a real estate investor. And so we always look for deals.
Right.
So.
And this is a tough market, right, to find a deal in if you're a real estate investor.
We've actually had to go to secondary markets because I would love to say that I'm, doing real estate deals in my own backyard, but I'm not, because it's just so competitive, and you have other investors that are paying over. So we're kind of, holding on that in the Dallas market because to be smart about it, if the numbers don't work, the numbers don't work, and you just got to move on. So we like secondary markets. What that means is it's about, an hour and a half, 2 hours outside of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. There's still affordable housing. And the thing is, Dallas as a metroplex is growing. So it's going out anyway. So there's still deals to be had. It's just funny when you talk to a seller and they're like, oh, well, do you want to see this house? And it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And this probably won't make sense in New York State, but Dallas. I'll talk about my first deal here in a second and a creative way I bought it. But I typically look for homes that are under $250,000 with a after repair value, like the top market. So I'm not, for what the kind of investing I do, I don't go off to the $500,000 homes. So the homes I'm looking for are either going to be a rental or owner finance or something like that. So. But yeah, and so I got into property management after we came here. And I was a property manager for well over a decade. I don't do that anymore, but man, did I learn a lot in that field.
Absolutely. Yeah. So tell us how you went about either your first deal or your favorite deal that you think would help our.
I'm going to talk one that has really kind of made me a little famous. So there's a guy named Ken Corsini, and he wrote a book called The Best Real Estate Deals That Shaped Experts, Investors, and it's called Profit Like a Pro. So he had heard about this deal I did. So for your viewers, what I want to say is that I do marketing for distressed property. So I usually look for people that, it's a vacant home, some distress, a lifestyle situation. People are downsizing with their parents, putting them in nursing homes, and probate. So I did a mailing. It was just a simple postcard, said, hey, I want to buy your house. It wasn't anything fancy, didn't have my picture on it or anything. And this guy called me, and he had a house in downtown historic Fort Worth, which if you've ever invested or tried to buy in a historic district, there's a lot of rules. Like if you have a property there that the paint has to be a certain way and the decoration. So anyway, and his property had been sitting for about 5 years vacant. Mm-hmm. I think it was a little bit longer, but it had been in his family he was actually born in the home. It was built in 1920 or 1930. It was an old house, which is not typically what I buy, but he only wanted $10,000 for the house, which I knew the area. I knew that was a good deal. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. So we had talked on the phone, and I got it under contract sight unseen. Like I just said, hey, I'm offering you 10. He was good with it. Now, let me back up. I was not the first investor to talk to this guy. We just hit it off because, we were talking about football, and my husband's from Wisconsin, Green Bay. And we just hit it off. And so he told me it was his family home. I asked him about his family. And I think that's where kind of investors miss the mark. They're just so like, oh, what do you want for your house or whatever. Right. So we built this rapport. So I got it under contract. Then I went and looked at the house. And so we were buying it for $10,000. And so I was like, I had gone to these lunch and learns at our custodial IRA company where I have a self-directed IRA. So I've been self-employed for a long time. So it's not like I have like a boatload of money in this IRA, the self-directed IRA. I have a SEP and that kind of thing. So they had always been talking about how you can use your self-directed IRA and you don't have to have a lot of money and you can use a small dollar IRA. And I was like, And I had a partner on this deal. So we were paying $10,000. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to try this. So I used $5,000 from my Roth self-directed IRA. My partner paid $5,000 in cash. We owned the property through our entities. I had a LLC, he had an LLC. So we owned the property 50-50. So we, that's how we were paying for the property. So there's some paperwork that goes along with that, but it was super simple. So we didn't know we didn't even see this property. So we go and look at the property, and I'm telling you what, it was split down the middle. The city was, it was so bad. The city was getting ready to tear it down. And we had no idea, we could wholesale the lot. And, so this was in 2018, so the market hadn't gone quite crazy. So we were like, So we stuck a sign in the yard, handwritten, and one side said, one side was English, one side was Spanish, owner will finance, and the phone number. 3 days later, we sold that house for $50,000, and we didn't do a thing to it. Not a thing. I mean, so we get to the closing table, and the way our terms worked, if you're not familiar with owner financing is you're basically the bank. So our terms were 20% down, which we got our $10,000 back. So we were made whole. And we financed carried a note for $40,000 for 15 years at 9.5% interest. Nice. Now, since my IRA, Nancy didn't actually own the property, nor did my LLC. My Roth IRA did. So the $5,000 was wired from the custodial company to the title company. So they, did the paperwork. And then when the buyers came in and, purchased it, and we closed from the buyer side, then the $10,000, $5,000 went back to my IRA, and my partner got $5,000 in cash. And we always joke about this because now the person that's paying, he pays a monthly payment every month. We put in a loan servicing company, so I don't even touch it. The money goes to the loan servicing company, and then they just send my share, my 50% to my IRA. So I don't even know what the return on investment is. Like crazy. I mean, at one time I calculated it was like 114%, and I showed somebody the deal and they're like, oh, that's way more than that. But basically my IRA has grown. Like the value of it is over. Now, remember, it's half, right? The value of my IRA is over $38,000 just from that one deal. Now, the thing is, we had just opened these accounts. So I'm going to talk about another deal that I did with $100. But the point with a self-directed IRA, if you're someone out there that you're like, I don't really trust the stock market. How can I grow my retirement? This is an excellent way that people don't really know about. And it's super easy once you understand what the paperwork is. There's some steps that you have to use. There's a title company. You have to use a title company that knows what they're doing, because I've used some that didn't quite know what they were doing about it. But it's a great way. So all of that money that's going into my Roth IRA, I don't pay taxes on it. I don't even file a tax return on that part of it. Now, when I do the withdrawal, yes, I will, I'll pay taxes at that point. Now, my partner, so the money that he's getting, he decided just to do cash. So he pays, now granted, on that kind of a loan, we're not talking about, thousands of dollars a month. It's
right.
The payment is just under $500. So let's call it $5. So I'm getting $250. He's getting $250, but he pays passive income tax on his $250, and mine's just building up my IRA. Pretty cool. So yeah, so it's a great tax deferred savings strategy to grow your retirement account. And the cool thing is it's backed by real estate. Now, fast forward, our guy is still paying. So we're about 3 years into it. The house, when we bought it, remember I said I bought it for $10,000. So we have property taxes here, and you can go on the tax rolls, and that house was only valued at, around 14,000, something like that, 12, something like that. It was very low. Today, if you drive by the property, and I've done presentations, they painted it, they fixed it up. And part of our financing to him was that he had to abide by all of the historic code regulations and restrictions, which he's done. That house is so cute. So the best thing about it is that we took this old, ugly house that was hardly any value. The tax value on that house today, I just did a presentation on this a couple months ago, $72,000.
Wow.
So remember, he bought it for $50,000, so he now has equity in his home, a sweat equity. The city doesn't have an eyesore, and so there's so many good things. I get goosebumps when I think about it. So I'm able to make money through my IRA tax deferred. Number two, we basically helped this community have a better house, and we gave a family that wouldn't be able to buy a home. They have a home, and they made it great. So I love that story. So if y'all are interested, go pick up Ken Corsini's book, Profit Like a Pro, and I am chapter 12, and you can read exactly how I did it and everything. So I know I love those pictures. So, but yes, and $5,000, and the thing is, I have another story about an IRA that I used on another property, and it only cost me $100. So should I just jump into there, or should you want to ask some questions about that last deal?
I was just going to say, a lot of times people think that in order to do seller financing or to get involved in investment, they have to have a ton of money. So not that $5,000 isn't a lot of money to some people. The next story you tell about $100, obviously most people can probably find $100. You need to know what you're doing. Obviously, I'm sure you talk to your financial advisor, and in New York, we are an attorney state. So you mentioned the title company. We also have the attorneys that go along with our transactions a lot.
Yeah. And I'm really, so my specialty since 2018, I've talked about this particular story, and then I've done other deals with I said my husband, he needed to open one. I started using my SAP. Because for a self-employed person, it's not like I have somebody contributing to my 401k. So we have started just, using all of these ways to buy properties. So I will let your viewers still know this, that I actually wrote, and they can get it for free, an ebook that I put together, and it's about how to get started investing with a small dollar IRA, because that is kind of my specialty, small dollar being anything under 50,000. Now, if you have more than 50,000, hey, you can buy properties, you can become a private money lender, but more people have, the 5,000. And the thing is, if it's with a custodial company, it can be one of those educational accounts, a Cloverdale. It can be a health savings account. It can be a Roth, a SEP. So there's, some people are using their educational one to put their kids through private school. You know what I mean? So, and it's tax deferred. You do have to pay for it, but there's certain ways you can structure it. And yes, a disclaimer, not a CPA and not attorney and not a financial advisor. So what I'm telling you is based on my own personal experiences and what I've personally done. So.
Well, and it's good to hear somebody that has actually gone through and done it, because I've heard that you can invest those ways, but to actually know somebody, have a conversation with somebody, or listen to somebody who's done it just adds that value there.
Well, and the thing is if you do it right, there's really there's always risk in real estate. I'm not going to sit here and say there's not, but if you do your due diligence, your IRA money is backed and secured by real estate, because in these deals, my IRA is first lien position. I have other stories about how we became private money lenders, and we've helped other people become private money lenders, where basically you use the money in your self-directed IRA to, buy a property or lend money out. So that's a whole nother, topic or whatnot. But let me talk about my next really good deal, because I think this really secured. I was like, dang, this is the way to go. So I happen to be, I can't take credit that I just, there are people that told me it's taken, 3.5 years, but you get the little pieces, because you're like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. So I was on a webinar, and backstage, I was talking about this property that I was getting, and I was like, dang. And I had my SEP IRA was already tied up in a couple other properties, because the cool thing with the way I invest is you can have more than one property. Your IRA can own more than one property. So there's some different rules and things like that. So I was like, man, I wish I could figure out how to buy this property in my IRA, but I just didn't have enough. So here's the details. Someone brought me a deal, and the purchase price was $70,000. Now, this was in a secondary market that I invest in a lot. And I have people who have self-directed IRAs that loan me money. So they'll loan me money. I negotiate the interest rate with them, and that kind of thing. So that's another way. So one person had 40 and one person had 30. So that was my 70,000. I was going to owner finance this property. I already had a buyer lined up. So owner finance just means that they're going to give me a large down payment, and then they're going to make monthly payments, kind of just like the first deal, except this was higher numbers. So I don't have it all in front of me. So if I make a mistake here on the calculations, forgive me, but I'm going to give you the overview. So anyway, had private money lenders. So I closed on the property with my private money lenders at a title company. So got that done. And then a week later, I sold the property for I think it was like $115,000. I sold to my end buyer. My end buyer paid me $11,000, $11,500. That was her 10%. And her monthly payment was right around $900, including, not including taxes. So her father was helping her. And so he was paying the taxes, the property taxes. So we have property taxes here in Texas.
We do too.
So, yeah. So, but I was like, okay, so I knew what all the numbers were going to be. And I was like, man, how can I get this into my IRA? So I was on a webinar. And so one of the people backstage said, well, Nancy, use an option. I don't know what that is. What is that? So, oh my gosh, I don't even know why they don't teach this in school. So what it is I took $100 from my SEP IRA, and I'm a broker here in Texas, and I went on our, Texas Real Estate Commission looking for that option agreement. It doesn't exist. And I literally had to Google it and put it together, but it's called an option agreement. Completely legal. I mean, it worked, because I'm not saying I'm an attorney, but this is how I bought the property. So I took the $100, and what happened was I did an option agreement where I was saying that my $100 SEP, so my SEP IRA account, was taking an option on the contract of the original purchase of the $70,000. So I know this is going to be confusing. So I didn't have to put out any money. The $100, And it's very simple. I did an amendment to the contract that changed the name of the buyer. So typically when I put a property under contract, I always put my LLC. Well, the contracts here in Texas, you can assign the contract or you just do an amendment. And I changed the name from my LLC to my SEP IRA. And the way it works is our company is called Quest Trust Company here. And the way it literally read was KBN Homes LLC was the original purchaser, my LLC. Changed name to Quest Trust Company, FBO, for the benefit of Nancy Wallace-Laabs SEP IRA account number. That was all there was. $100 was wired from my SEP account to the title company. And now my LLC was not going to own this property. My IRA owns the property. It's that easy. Now, to even make the deal sweeter, because I was actually selling the property. It had some repairs that I didn't make. So I discounted the price of the home to the buyer, but I said, hey, I'm giving you kind of a good discount. So I'm going to have you reimburse me. So remember, I use private money lenders to buy the property. And I had closing costs when I did that, which actually did have to come out of my SEP IRA, because when you do these deals, all the money, there's no money from like Nancy. It all has to be in the, there's like IRS rules and all that. Right. So I think my closing costs were right around $37.25, something like that. So I already paid for the property, but then my buyer had to reimburse me my closing costs from when I purchased the property. So my only cost in the property was the $100 I used as my SEP, because her payment that I was receiving into my SEP, the $900, I had negotiated a really good deal with my private money lender. So my payment to them every month was like $460. Remember, her payment was going to be like $900. And so I was keeping the difference of $550 into my SEP IRA every month. So
let me just stop you 1 second, Nancy. So when the $900 came in, yes, and $400 it went to the hard money lenders, did it have to come out of your SEP IRA to them?
So the way you do this to avoid all of that is I put a loan servicing company in place. So the loan servicing company is the one who collects the money. They're like, think of them as the bank, the loan servicer. Like, I don't know, when you have a mortgage and you don't pay Wells Fargo, you pay, I don't know, PennyMac or whoever it is. So the buyer, the end buyer, pays the loan servicing company. The loan servicing company then takes the amount of money and sends one check to Quest Trust Company, because they're the ones